Hello, welcome to another episode of Forgotten Cemeteries of the Pacific Northwest. Today we're at Meridian Cemetery, located in Tualatin, Oregon, Washington County. Alternative names of the cemetery, there was kind of one called Frog Pond Cemetery. Like I said, sorta. That's the old name, and we'll discuss why. So let's go meet some of the local residents and hear their story. Quite the hike to get to the top of the cemetery. It's kind of a unique one where it's a hill like overlooking the road here. So a little bit about the history of the cemetery. It was established in 1895. It's a little late for us, but I thought it would be an interesting little story when I came across it, and why not visit? We do have another old versus new case similar to Butteville Cemetery, where the original graves were moved to a new location. This location, however, has an estimated 100 to 500 burials per the Oregon Burial Site Guide. Find a Grave is showing about 155 memorials to give you an idea. From what the Oregon Burial Site Guide says, the first Meridian Cemetery was located 1.5 miles south of the present cemetery and was located adjacent to the Meridian United Church of Christ. Now those burials apparently date back to 1882, but were moved here at one time. The name Meridian is a crossroads referring to a Willamette meridian of the two meridians used for surveying properties in Oregon. 65th Avenue, which is how you arrive at the cemetery, was once called Meridian Road and follows that survey line. So, doing my research, I get the feeling that this may be kind of a German Swiss style cemetery overall with immigrants from Illinois. During my research, I obviously came across the cool name Frog Pond Cemetery, which was originally located at that church we just talked about. Discovered upon reading up on one of the obituaries from someone allegedly buried here is how I originally discovered it, but no headstone shown for that person on Find a Grave for Christina Shorts, whoever she is. Doing a quick search, you'll find that Meridian United Church of Christ is located down the road, and this is directly from their website. Our official name is Meridian United Church of Christ, and we are affectionately known as Frog Pond Church. In the old days, there truly was a pond just north of here, and though housing now fills the neighborhood, you can still hear the frogs singing in the evenings. Another fun legend I came across was how the Frog Pond Church came about. Travelers would use their visual and auditory cues to find out where they were going in the area, apparently. Thought that was kind of interesting. So new members of the church, when they asked, "How do you get to the church?" they simply replied, "Follow the sound of the frogs." Sadly, I read that the marshlands have been drained due to farming practices in the past, and the frogs are not as present as they used to be. Apologies if the camera angle's kind of messed up. It's very uneven terrain on the cemetery, but here we have Happenberg Ellison. She is a German-born individual. Like I said, it's a lot of Germans and Swiss here from my understanding, and she was born in 1821. The last name Ellison appears to be an important name in this area, and there's actually a road named after them in Wilsonville. Shows she arrived in the USA in 1848. Couldn't find much information on her, but her obituary says she was 92 when she died, and she was known for walking 2 to 3 miles a day. And here we have Christian Wagel, Switzerland-born individual in 1832. Again, just not much on him, except he was a farmer and he died at the young age of 58, and couldn't find a cause of death, but thought he had a unique headstone, and it looks like it's in really good shape. It looks like somebody cleaned it recently. But like I said, I was going to try to include more symbolism in my videos, and if anyone out there sees any inaccuracies, feel free to comment below. Got a pretty thick skin, so not always right, and trust me, my wife lets me know. We can see a hand holding a book here right at the top, and from what I read, it means the embodiment of faith. I'm guessing that represents the Bible in this case, since it is a religious cemetery and it once belonged to Frog Pond Church. And here is Carl Corman, born in 1841 in Germany, unknown on the town. His wife Eva is also buried here. She's like actually right next to him. Both would come to the US together in 1880, and Carl is actually listed as being a blacksmith. And here is Frederick Cross, very German sounding, born in Berlin, Germany in 1844. This would be one of the individuals who was originally buried in Frog Pond Cemetery, from my understanding, and was later moved on to Meridian Cemetery over here. Headstone is pretty striking. It looks like it kind of broke at one time and someone repaired it, so that's good. He and his family would move to America in 1881 to Iowa. They first tried California when they came out to the West Coast, then Washington, went back to Iowa, I guess, then probably realized they were in Iowa and said, let's go back to the West Coast. And they came to Oregon in 1895. You can see more symbolism up here. There's the handshake symbol, which we've seen at other cemeteries, but I never really talked about it. So the handshake has a few meanings and goes back to the Victorian era, from my understanding. A goodbye to earth life and God welcome you to heaven. Sorry, bee was attacking me. Holy matrimony, but I'm guessing that is when a husband and a wife are both on the same headstone, so that's another meaning. It may represent God reaching down to pull you to heaven after death. There's also a link between the living family members and the deceased. A final thing of note is one hand is slightly higher than the other. Sometimes you'll see that in other cemeteries. This one's even for the most part. But if one hand is slightly higher than the other, it apparently means that the deceased one is guiding the living one, whether to heaven or just in life. I wasn't really sure in the meeting, but yeah, learned something new. So I'm not sure if you could see the writing on this headstone. The sun's really illuminating it, and it's got that white marble look, and the lettering is in white, so it's hard for me to see, so maybe the camera will pick it up. But here we have Lula May Toadmeyer, our last stop. She was born in White Cloud, Kansas in 1860. White Cloud is sort of classified as a ghost town with currently only about 170 people living there, so it's not a ghost town, but kinda, from what I read. It's a little confusing. And also where scenes from the movie Paper Moon were filmed. Yeah, I never heard of it either. Maybe somebody out there has. So, of the things to do in White Cloud for fun, there were 4 listed. 2 of them were going to church, to give you an idea what's going on in the area. Historically speaking, White Cloud served as a resting place for Lewis and Clark in 1804, and according to legend, their names are still carved on a stone somewhere near White Cloud, Kansas. There was a tribes chief there named White Cloud, and the land belonged to the Iowa tribe. Sadly, he would lose his life in battle with the Pawnee Indians at one time. And I also came across a sadder story of this town, and it kind of reminded me of the story we told at Purden, those pioneer husbands. And then in the year 1875 in White Cloud, a widow married a man named Mr. Hurst. I couldn't find first names of anybody in this story, by the way, so apologies. But there were issues. Mr. Hurst was a bit of a drinker and would get a bit violent with Mrs. Hurst. Finally, he would be arrested, but he would plead with the marshal that he wanted to peacefully resolve the issue with his wife. So the marshal was like, all right, and the marshal agreed, and so did his wife, Mrs. Hurst. A fence separated the couple when they met, and they both leaned in for like a hug to embrace. So the marshal was like, oh, that's cool, they're making up. What Mrs. Hurst and the marshal didn't realize is Mr. Hurst concealed a massive knife, pulled it out, and slit the throat of Mrs. Hurst, severing her carotid artery and jugular vein. Obviously, this was massive damage, killing her. The marshal was pretty furious, and a mob would take Mr. Hurst. The marshal would hold a revolver to his head and ordered him to put on a noose around his neck. No hanging would take place for some reason, and they would actually jail Mr. Hurst and the marshal, apparently. So Mr. Hurst would be moved to an insane asylum after that. I never did read what happened to him, but I'm not sure if he got let out scot-free or plead insanity, but you learned all about White Cloud, Kansas today. And apologies again, the ground is so uneven around here. There's a lot of plant growth too, so I'm trying to balance the tripod on like brush and leaves and doing my best here. So here we have Albertine Mons and Hibbo Eiterhoff. The only reason I brought this one up is it had like kind of a weird obituary. They're both from Germany, coming to the USA in the 1870s. But for Mrs. Eiterhoff, her obituary says she was buried on Saturday last. While helping to dig the grave on Friday, William Joster's team ran away, hitched to a buggy, but as no one was in the vehicle, no one was hurt. They ran about a half a mile when Mrs. Nemec, asserting her women's rights, succeeded in stopping them. So I'll post a picture of the obituary. Maybe somebody out there has an idea what happened there, but it looked like there was more to that story, and unfortunately I couldn't find anything, so sorry, but unique obituary overall. So apologies, this is kind of similar to the other Swiss and German cemeteries we visited where information was kind of limited, but yeah, it might be a short video, but it was a unique location with a cool story about Frog Pond Cemetery. But here we have Louis Meyer Todetemer. I think I might have said that wrong earlier with that other individual. Todetemer? It's a tough one, but she was born in Germany in 1823. Found a federal census on her from 1900. Shows her immigrated in the United States in 1850, having 8 children, only 5 living. Family appeared to be farmers overall, but she was widowed at the time. Both husbands appear to be buried back in Illinois. In 1847, she married Frederick Cross. He dies at 31 in 1856, and his burial location is unknown back in Illinois. She remarries in 1858, 2 years later, to a Ludwig Totemer. He dies in 1872 at the age of 51, and his burial is also unknown. So, a lot of heartbreak in her story. I would have liked to know more. Alright, time for the tour. If you visit, and I'll show you at the end of the video, there is kind of parking. Not that too busy of a road. A little bit of overgrowth, but kind of an interesting location overall. It appears we do have some U.S. veterans here. Whoa. Trees are kind of dropping their leaves. A lot of German, born in Hanover. I believe that's what that says. We don't know if vandalism happened or not. We talked about Lois. She was also born in Hanover. One's really beat up, really wore down, but it looks like Peters. That was a popular name in this area, but again, just no information on them. And look, more Boakmans. Now here's that Frederick Boakman I told you about, where he was born in 1833. Appears to be the oldest one in the cemetery. It looks like he's married to a Mary. She was born in 1835. Yeah, unique symbol there. Kohlmeyer was a popular name as well, one of the older names. Somebody hidden over here. Boblik. Not sure how to say that. is where you'll find Cross over here in the right side of the cemetery. And George Fritz, born in 1858. I guess it would help if I got out of the shot. And unfortunately, you can see that headstone cracked in half. I can't read that, maybe you guys. It looks like a William F. something looking Fisher. Ooh. I figure we just zigzag across. It is well organized. This looks like an important individual. A unique cross. I don't know what the two circles stand for. I'm assuming some type of unification. A pretty one as well. I can't make that out. It almost looks like a pumpkin to me, but it's probably not it. How do you say that? Schickenlister. Oh, Schukenlister. Kudos for all you out there that can pronounce these last names, because I absolutely suck at it. I'm sure you've noticed that by now. Here's Christian Wagley. Talked about him. Yeah, there's U.S. Navy vet up there, Harold Miller. Ouch, this one's seen better days. Seeing FT initials, and that's not good. There's more Peters. Again, it looks like we've seen this at other places where they have that little top cone, and it does not survive over the years. I haven't seen this style yet. Just a big circular sphere coming up, or a big circle coming up. That's pretty neat. I guess you could call it a tube style. That'll be my term for it. August Gebhardt. And this is all cement. This is a pretty big plot here. Must be important individuals, maybe. So that's where you'll park, at the bottom of the hill, if you visit the cemetery. And from my understanding, I believe the gates typically open. It was open when I came around 8 o'clock this morning, I want to say. Not sure if they ever close it. What's this guy? Oh, this is a baby. That sucks. Francis Peters, maybe? I can't see that. Pictures. 1917. You guys can see it. Apologies. Sun's kind of making it difficult, but we have a little fisherman here. Unique headstone. And the boatman is right up front. There's a tree on the back, and then a little write-up on their family history there. That's kind of neat. Ulrich. Sounds very Nordic, like a video game or something. Ulrich, Skyrim. We're approaching the end of what I think is the end of the cemetery for us. We didn't see anything hidden. Didn't see any headstones way in the corner by themselves like we saw at the other recent cemetery. But overall, just a quiet one. Not a lot of information, little things here and there. I tried to find what I could. So apologies, but you did get to learn about White Cloud, Kansas today. That's kind of fun. It is still an active cemetery here from my understanding, so it looks like there's an entire strip of land. Well, there's an American flag down there. Let's go travel down there. Maybe somebody is buried down there. Take up a little bit. Hopefully we don't get bit by a rattlesnake or something. Jeez. This is like perfect territory for snakes. Let's go see who's down here. This might be the first person to claim this entire strip. So you're looking for someone to be buried. Plenty of room down here. Oh, coincidentally, it's a boatman. I should have known. So, 2008. U.S. veteran, too. What's he say here? A joyful spirit that never met a stranger. That's a cool saying. So, that is the end of the tour. Pretty unique location, I'd say. Unique history of Frog Pond Cemetery and the church. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any other recommendations on cemeteries to visit in Oregon or even Southern Washington, feel free to comment below, and have a great day and stay safe.